Welcome to the Daily Cash Flow. My name is George Robson.
I'm Peter Siegel.
And today we're going to talk about visualizing the run. We're talking about debt, and we're talking about when and how to scale your business.
Right, all good stuff.
Fantastic stuff.
Stop messing around, stop fooling around, stop delaying, stop procrastinating. Get up, get out, get it done. Everything is possible, nothing is a problem, and anything can be overcome. I just get my ass up out of bed, I get my shit together, and I get out and I start the fight. And that will transform you from a mere mortal into a superhuman being. I've never, ever met anybody who told me that they got rich watching their IRA or their 401k.
Peter, can you tell me a little bit about this concept of visualizing the run?
Visualizing the run is one of my favorite concepts. It's been around for a while. If you look at sports coaches in a lot of different fields, they coach their athletes to visualize the run. I remember being up on top of a ski mountain one time years and years ago, and an Olympic trained ski racer was sitting there in solitude. Her eyes were closed and she was visualizing the run. I asked her if that's what she said she was doing. And I asked her about it. She said, yeah, the coach has us imagine the line that we're going to take down the course. And it helps us to then actually take that line. And it happens in other areas in life too. But basically, all you have to do, close your eyes and imagine yourself getting to where you want to go and being where you want to be. And you're way more likely to get there. There's actually a Harvard study that was done recently that concludes that the brain, I'm summarizing here, but it concludes that the brain can't tell the difference chemically between you having actually experienced the situation or having imagined the situation. So
it's like a matrix effect.
It sure is. And successful people are very good at this and do this repeatedly. Successful people often are successful because they imagine themselves being so. They imagine themselves handling the responsibility and the power and the achievement and all that comes with it. They imagine themselves being able to handle the obstacles that come in daily life to get there without problem or issue. And I know that for a lot of the successful people that I know, it's not even an option to consider other outcomes. So they
visualized it so many times in their head of accomplishing the thing. It doesn't even enter into it.
Absolutely.
You couldn't accomplish it.
They see themselves, they imagine themselves getting to the end point. They imagine tackling all the obstacles that come along the way, and they're there, and nothing shocking or scary or freaky or off-putting to them while they're on their path. They know it's all coming. They know that the obstacles and the challenges are coming. And they just kick ass in all that stuff and getting to achieve their objective every day.
Do you have anything to say to someone who might hear this and feel like it's a little bit woo-woo, or that like, I feel silly, I don't want to do affirmations, know, that kind of thing?
Well, they can read the Harvard study. I think it's called the placebo effect of exercise, and they look at a bunch of hotel maids at different hotel locations. They analyze a couple of different groups of people and separate them and then study them over time. And they feed one group a bit of information about their health and well-being, and they don't give the other group any information. And at the end of the study, there's an amazing result that happens, and it's backed up by the science in the study. But look, we're not saying that people have to just be positive. Yeah, you have to be positive. We're not saying that people just have to have a good attitude. Sure, you have to have a good attitude. What we're saying is really think about and imagine and give thought to becoming the person you want to be, accomplishing the goal you want to accomplish, achieving the success you want to achieve. Really think about it. And how do you look making a presentation to a bunch of investors that you've never met before? Imagine that scenario. Go over it a million times in your head. You're going to get rid of a lot of the fears and anxieties that hold people back. You're going to imagine scenarios that are going to come up and plan for them ahead of time. And that's going to really accelerate your success.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would imagine, sometimes this deep work, especially internally and mentally, people can make the mistake of like, well, it doesn't look like I'm working. They conflate being busy
Sure.
and looking busy
Sure.
with executing, and it's not the same thing.
Absolutely.
And a lot of times this deep work and this deep planning requires a little bit of stillness at times, so that you can act quickly and act with massive action.
You know what else successful people think? That everything is possible, that nothing is a problem, and anything can be overcome. And it's just a matter of problem solving along the way to achieve anything.
Right.
So for the successful people I know, they're that way because they don't accept any other option or outcome, and they just do micro problem solving until they take small bites of the apple enough where the apples are gone, and that goal's achieved. It's a very powerful mindset, and you hear people talk a lot about mindset having a lot to do with success. Well, here's one of those examples, and visualize that run. I mean, I'll never forget that moment up on the ski mountain where the ski racer was telling me that she was visualizing the run. I was fascinated with it.
Yeah.
Was
it a concept that you were familiar with before
Not
that?
at all.
Okay,
never.
Interesting. Yeah.
I wasn't a professional athlete, and I never had exposure to professional coaching or training of any kind for anything. Mm-hmm. But it made total sense to me. She could see the course, she could see to where she had to go, and there was a bunch of gates and turns that she had to go through and make. And she would study the course and visualize she'd see the angles and the pitches and the way the sunlight was hitting the slope, and she'd be able to make decisions ahead of time before she actually was physically on that run. She'd be able to process and do that math and make those calculations while she was standing there having her moment, visualizing the run. And she'd crush it every time.
Yeah. Well, and the speed is a huge thing. I think that's what you're talking about, whereas like life happens fast, so you got to, even though you're still in that moment, you're preparing for what's going to be, split-second decisions that you're going to have to make in the future.
Absolutely.
And it's key.
Yeah. You can make those split-second decisions much faster and with much more agility if you know the course that's coming. And the way you know the course that's coming is you got to visualize that run.
Nice. Visualize the run.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Everyone.
Want to move on to business questions, please?
Let's do it.
So, first business question is, should I think of business debt as different than personal debt? Is it wise to take on business debt if I lack personal capital to start a business?
Well, debt is debt, whether it's business or personal. There's good debt and bad debt. I think a lot of people have heard that before, and it's an important concept to understand. Good debt is debt that you take on to make you money. Good debt makes you money, and bad debt does nothing for you except cost you money. An example of bad debt would be going into debt to fund a lifestyle purchase or to purchase a disposable asset or a depreciating asset. Why would you go into debt for something that is a fleeting moment of fun or is non-essential or depreciates in value? I don't know, but people do it. Yeah. Bad debt, bad decision, bad debt. If you want to be on the path to growing a business, to becoming successful, to achieving a lot of the goals that you want to achieve, taking on debt for disposable assets or depreciating assets, bad choice, and don't do it. I'm in the commercial income producing apartment building business. I invest and develop apartment buildings. And so I take on debt all the time as it relates to a particular apartment building or a commercial piece of real estate. And when I take on that debt, it's a function of the income that the building produces. And so the debt that I take on is sized and priced relative to the income that's going to be there to make the mortgage payments and the debt payments. And so when I take on debt, and when business owners take on business debt, hopefully, well, I certainly take on debt according to a set of strict calculations and criteria so that I'm maximizing my return on investment and my cash flow. And I hope that business owners also will take on debt pursuant to income that they have or that they'll be able to achieve from taking on that debt. Look, you want to take on debt to make you money. You want to buy an asset that throws off cash flow. You want to take on debt to buy property, plant, or equipment that's going to throw off cash flow. If you're not doing those types of things and you want to take on debt to buy a Lamborghini and look like a big shot, that's your choice. In my opinion, it's a bad choice. Look, you've heard a lot of people say to get rid of your credit cards. If you can't pay for something in cash, don't put it on a credit card. So that's how I have grown to live my life. When I was a kid, I didn't know better, and I did what a lot of people do, and I had a lot of credit cards, and I learned a lesson, and it took me a long time to pay off all those credit card bills and all of that credit card debt. And now that it's paid off, I use debt very strategically, very specifically, and connected to the purchase of or acquisition of assets or equipment that are going to enable me to grow a business or grow cash flow.
Yeah, fantastic. So just to get back to that original question, basically you're saying business debt and personal debt, it's the same thing.
Same idea.
It's just you got to be concerned with whether or not it's going to make you money or lose you money.
Look, so other than the personal debt that people will take on, other than credit card debt, they'll take on school loans. That's a big one, and there's a big debate out there whether or not it's a value proposition to take on.
Well, that kind of goes back to your answer, though, which is that the answer to that, whether or not you should take on school debt, is it going to make you money or is it going to lose you money? And
you have to ask yourself that question every time you make a debt purchase.
Yeah. And a lot of people aren't with school.
They're not. The other thing that people will do, which is obviously very common, is when they purchase a home, they seek a mortgage of 70 or 80 or sometimes more % of the value of the home's price to get into the home. And that was a very typical way that people behaved for years and years and years, going back to the post-war euphoric decade of the 50s, and then all the way up through really the last recession of 2008, where it was very common for people to purchase a home, take on a big mortgage, be tied into that home, have a lot of money wrapped up in that home, and that's where they stayed. They worked in a job nearby that they commuted to, and they lived in that house for 20, 30 more years until they paid down that mortgage. And at the end of that time, they had a house that was paid off and probably had appreciated in value and maybe was worth some more money than it was when they had purchased it 20 or 30 years ago. And that model has really changed, and that American dream has really changed. And people today are seeking flexibility, they're seeking mobility. Home ownership is no longer the
primary
part of the American dream that it used to be.
Yeah.
And
renter nation is what you've called it.
Sure. I refer to it as renter nation because that's what's happening. People are choosing to rent more than they are to own. Sure, there's segments in every market around the country where people are still buying homes and owning homes, but by and large, the trends are for the masses that home ownership is declining and renting is increasing. I mean, we're going to do a whole separate episode just on home ownership and the debt that you have to go into to own a home and the equity that you tie up to own a home.
Yeah.
And we're going to do some specific mathematical examples of home ownership versus renting a home. And we'll demonstrate very clearly that a lot of people are confused and have misconceptions about home ownership. Because it's not just the cost of the debt to buy the home, and it's not just the opportunity cost, which we've spoken about opportunity cost before. It's not just the opportunity cost of putting your capital in a single family home and letting it sit there parked in your house and not being able to get it out to use it for investing or other things that you can have more success with. And we're not even talking about repairs, maintenance, property taxes, insurance, all of the things that come along with home ownership that crush the economics for justifying buying a home. We're not even talking about all that. We're really just talking about debt here today, but people will often make poor decisions, taking on home mortgages, taking on second mortgages, HELOCs, things like that, related to their primary residence. And I argue that you should really consider not doing that stuff and taking your money, not taking on the debt, and taking your cash equity and your money and putting it into income producing assets and better quality investments.
Awesome. Cool. I already have a moderately successful small business. What questions should I ask myself to determine whether it's a right time to scale or expand or grow?
Well, if you're already in business, you've made the decision that you want to be in business, you want to take that leap. So at that point, you got to ask yourself, and not just at this point, but always and every day, and no matter what path you're on in life, who am I and what do I want? What do I want out of this? What do you want out of business? If you want more growth, more revenue, more out of your business, and that's the path that you want to put yourself on. If you want to be successful meaning make more money, growth is a necessity. You have to capture more revenue, you have to hire people, you have to expand your market, you have to advertise, you have to go after more, and you have to produce more. So if you ask yourself, who am I? Is this me? And if you ask yourself, what is it that I want? And the answer to that is, I want success, I want more money, I want a bigger business, then yeah, you have to achieve that by deploying things that will enable you to grow. Growth is necessary to get more. Yeah. If you don't have that self-awareness, take a step back, do an assessment, really understand who you are as an executor, as an operator, as an entrepreneur, as a business person. Really understand your business. How much can you grow it? And what are the 3, 5, 10, 20 things you need to do in order to grow it? And by how much? Do you want to grow 10%? Do you want to grow 300%? You have to have the answers to all those questions before you embark on anything business related with your company, with your business. And so you need to know about who you are and what you can tolerate and take. And you need to know about your business and what it can tolerate and take.
What I hear you say is the goal, knowing your goals and knowing your business and ability are really
awareness
the primary
is a
thing.
key.
Yeah,
awareness is a key.
Because otherwise you're going to be scaling to somebody else's model that isn't going to meet your needs at all.
Absolutely. Yeah. You have to know what you can do. You have to know what your horse can do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, great.
And you have to know what makes you happy. Are you happy where you are earning X amount of dollars a year, or do you want to make X plus amount of dollars? And really try and find your connection between money and happiness. Yeah. And that's for all of us, not just business owners, but really for everybody. But I suggest everybody understand that connection between money and happiness. But for those of us that own businesses, I think we've already perhaps plugged the cord into the wall, connecting that money sort of equals a little bit more happiness for us because we're maybe driven, maybe we have goals that we want to achieve, and the business is allows for that. Yeah. So having that awareness, knowing what makes you happy, and really know your business and what it can do, for sure.
And then visualize the run.
Always visualize your run at every point, and every day, all the time. I can't stress that enough. Yeah,
because those two things kind of do dovetail into each other in that way.
Absolutely.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, fantastic. So those are our business questions for today. Let's move on to our Zest quests. As some of our listeners know, those are kind of a bit more off the beaten path, not necessarily business oriented. So our first one today is, what is a quotation or quotations that you live by?
Quotations that I live by. I probably a few, so I'll just spit out some. But I think the first one that comes to mind is that everything in life is a choice, and to me that's a very empowering phrase. It makes me feel like I'm in control of everything, and I believe that really everything is a choice, from who you want to be as a person to what you want to achieve in whatever field or area you may be wanting to seek achievement in, to your relationships, to how you behave, to so many things. Everything's a choice. Nothing is forced on us, and if we feel at times that they are, just remember we can choose something else. We can choose a different path, we can choose a different response, we can choose a different mindset, we can choose a different attitude. Everything's a choice. And once we grasp that, I think it's very empowering. So I like to live by that. I think about that all the time. I teach my kid that. Yeah. Another one that pops into mind is is that I really value loyalty. And so to me, loyalty is invaluable, and I teach people and tell people that frequently as well. Loyalty is something that it takes a long time to find with others, and once you have it, it's priceless. And so I really value that, and I encourage people to seek loyalty, and I encourage people to be loyal. I encourage people to look for opportunities to be loyal. Don't just wait for someone to ask you to do something for them or ask you to support them. Actually seek those opportunities before being asked, and that will transform you from a mere mortal into a superhuman being, because I think that a lot of us out there are looking for loyalty and dedication in so many different places in areas of our lives. And when you can be the one to give loyalty, I think you're elevating yourself to a really special place.
Increases those connections.
Yes, it does. So another one that, and you've heard me say this one before, I love this one. This is something that I got from my father, and probably he got it from his grandfather, but I think it's summarized as follows. I think just get up, get out there, and get it done. Stop messing around, stop fooling around, stop delaying, stop procrastinating, stop finding distractions, stop getting sucked into other vortexes. Get up, get out, get it done.
And this is key for, especially right now, and you see this a lot in the podcast world, and kind of this efficiency, people could call it productivity porn or efficiency obsession, where people are obsessed with tactics. And tactics are useful, and those are useful things, but they can sometimes be used as a distraction to actually do the real work that you're supposed to be doing.
Get up, get out, and get it done. I mean, it's so clear and concise and to the point, and when I say it to people immediately, they know what I'm talking about, they draw a connection to it in their life, and they're like, oh yeah, I need to get up and get out and get it done. I find that people are really receptive to that. And I try.
And a lot of people know. I think a lot of people do know really what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
But they just got to do it.
They got to do it.
Yeah.
Just go do it.
Yeah.
Just go do it.
Yeah.
Visualize it.
Visualize
go
it.
do it.
Yeah.
I love another very simple quote that just popped into my mind, and that is really just, yes, I can. Yes, I can. Be a yes person with everything. Be a yes person. It's also very empowering, and it's very easy to say no. It's very easy to say, no, that's not for me. No, I'm not going to try. No, I'm not going to do that. No, I'm not going to succeed. No, I'm just going to stay put. No. I mean, we hear that so much, and so many of the people in our circles and in our orbits are like that. Yeah. And if you look at successful people, they're not no people, right? Yeah. Successful people are yes people. I mean,
they're looking for the solution.
Never met a successful person that was more no than yes.
Right. Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
Never. They don't exist. It doesn't happen. It's not possible by nature. Yeah. You have to be a yes person. People who succeed are yes.
Yeah. There's actually, just as an anecdote that relates to the two of us, even just last week when we were filming our last podcast, I noticed that in you, in that we were trying to figure out some computer things and level the computer with lens and all these kinds of things. And my initial response was, I don't know. I don't have an answer for this or whatever. And you didn't even actually say anything specifically. You just brought over some books and lifted up the screen and solved the problem immediately. And that
I remember
that physicalized kind of what you're talking about, which is just that, like, yes, I can. I'm finding the solution.
Everything has a solution.
Yeah.
Everything has a solution. Nothing is impossible. Everything has a solution. Well, look, I can't jump up to the moon. That's physically impossible. Short of that, everything has a solution, and it's our job in our lives to go out there and find those solutions every day, to problem solve every day, to imagine how to get from point A to point B, and then get from point A to point B. And that's what we're here talking about. So yes, I can, and yes, you can, and yes, we all can, and yes, everything is my breakfast, man.
Yeah.
Eat that for breakfast every day.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then the last thing, I think of my mom a lot when I think of this, because I think I got this from her. But I'm very, and I don't know what the quote is, but Maybe we'll make one after I explain to you the concept. But the quote really is, it can always be worse. My mom would say that, it can always be worse. And I think the other half of it that she didn't really say, but that she implied was, be thankful for what you have, because it can always be worse. And I believe that I try to live like that. And that enables me to be positive. And that's a glass is half full spin on life. And so if you fall down and break a couple of bones, it could have been worse. You could have broken more bones. You could have lacerated an artery or a vein. Thank God that didn't happen. Everything will be fine. You pull yourself back up, you go see the doctor, you cast your broken bones, and it'll be good one day soon. And be thankful that it wasn't worse. And she would always say that to me, and I again find myself saying those kinds of things to young people, to my own daughter. And it's very powerful stuff. Because it's so easy to say no, to be negative. It's so easy to be on the negative side of the fence, and it's
and to dwell on what you don't know.
Yeah,
I think they kind of play into that idea of, don't dwell on this other thing that you think either could be better or you don't know about, because it could be the thing you're wondering about could actually be worse than what you have.
Absolutely. So gratitude. Be thankful for what you have. It can always be worse. Apply that to any situation: physical, mental, business, relationships, and it enables you to then say yes. It all goes together, saying yes and being thankful for what you have and realizing that things could be worse, and it helps you visualize that run that we started off talking about today. But for sure, those types of things I think about all the time, every morning, every night, and so I think those are the quotes that pop into my mind.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, thanks for sharing. Yeah. All right, and our last question for today. What are your top 3 favorite words?
My top 3 favorite words. So I would say, in keeping with today's theme, and even beyond today's theme, I would say yes. Forgot one of them. So I would say my 3 favorite words are yes, go, and fuck.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I think so. I think fuck really sums up so many different things, but in a positive fuck, not a negative fuck.
Yeah, no, because yes, we can.
Yeah, yes, we can. That's right.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Peter.
Thanks, George.
And all right.